Welcome to What's Possible, Next Level Thinking with World-Class Coaches. Today, I am so thrilled to have my friend and SBC coach, Robert Mack, with us. Robert is the author of Happiness from the Inside Out. This is one of those books where you can see my tags here. There are tags and highlights throughout. It's one of those kind of books. I have given it to so many people. They call me throughout the book. Oh, let me just read you what Robert said. It's that kind of book. It's just beautiful. And then most recently, Love from the Inside Out. I'm in the process of reading this, and it's one of those feel-good books. You just read it and you're like, oh, I love it. So these are Robert's two books. I highly recommend taking a peek at them. You can find them on our website, right under all the coaches. We have a carousel, and Robert's books are right there. Robert has been a corporate consultant, a TV actor, a personality. You may have seen him on a variety of shows like The Today Show. And he is, like I said, an SBC and executive coach. And I am just tickled to have you here today, Robert.
I'm so excited to be here. I need to come back here more often just to get the ego stroke. That was amazing.
It is true. It is funny that I have told Robert this a million times. When people experience Robert, just the energy of your presence, you just give out great vibes. And then not only that, like I said, you're able to capture your words and thoughts in a book, which is not easy to do. So people get a real sense of who you are as a human, your authenticity, how you show up in the world through your stories and your writing. And so I love getting to be with you as well as read what you've put out into the world.
I so appreciate that, Ilene. You know, I just love you to death, and I love our conversations. And it takes light to recognize light. You do all of those things so magnificently well. So thanks so much for just saying that. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, I'm super excited to talk today about energy management. It's something that both of you and I feel passionately about. All these words, it might mean something to you, something to me, something to our listener. So I'm curious, how do you define energy management?
It's taking the laziest, smartest path or approach to your life overall and to work specifically. So it's the lazy, intelligent approach.
Go deeper. I want to hear more about the lazy, intelligent approach.
Yeah. So I've always, considered myself a pretty hard worker, mostly because I never felt I was that bright. And my dad and my parents were, insistent upon all of us working really hard. And as a result of that, I wasn't able to accomplish some things in my life. But then I got to a place in my life where my dad said to me, all right, son, I know that as a kid, I told you you should work really hard. But at this point in your career, in your life, you've really got to focus on working smart. We're going to burn yourself out. And so at that point, I just sort of did a deep dive into what I now, call lazy intelligence. So the idea is, how can we all achieve, accomplish, acquire, and experience more of what we want with less time, energy, and effort? So how can we get better results with less time, energy, effort, and resources? And so energy management is mostly about that. We talk about managing time, but really you can't manage time. You can only manage yourself. You can only manage your energy and the use or the way in which you use your energy. And so we want to use it in the laziest, meaning most efficient and effective, but also smartest way humanly possible.
Yeah, definitely. It makes me think of the path of least resistance. I think so often we just butt up. And I know even in your book, you talked about that with being a consultant and you're doing the right life. This is what you're supposed to do. You are experiencing all the success that, society deems as success. And it was hard. It was tough. You did it. And it's inside, you're feeling like, this isn't me. This isn't who I am.
Not at all. I mean, and I was even worse than that. I was like, to your point, I was depressed for so long and I was suicidal for so long. I mean, it was something I thought, the depression, at least I thought I'd grow out of it. You think, well, I just need to accomplish more. Getting good grades isn't enough. I need to be salutatorian or valedictorian, which I did. And then I need to go beyond that. I need to get a really great consulting job. You do that. And maybe I just need a really beautiful girlfriend that knows 5 languages. And then you do that. And then, you're like, how come I don't feel better subjectively despite doing better objectively? I'm doing better in the world, but I'm feeling worse on the inside. And so I was like, wow, this is not what I expected. This is not what I intended. Got to a place I was so suicidal that I began to look up ways and means and methods to kill myself. And I even had a suicidal experience there where I decided I was going to slit my wrist. And I dug the knife into my wrist. And I mean, strangely enough, in that moment, I experienced like this inexplicable, ineffable peace, love, and joy, the kind of which I had never experienced before, that I had never experienced even when I was achieving, accomplishing, acquiring all these other things, 2 beautiful German cars and health and all this stuff. Like I didn't feel any of that peace, love, and joy with any of those accomplishments or achievements. But then I felt it at the seemingly lowest point in my life, without any external conditions or circumstances changing whatsoever. And so for me, that was like, I had to reorient my life and question and explore like, okay, do I have this ladder leaning up against the right wall or not? Is all this hard work really helpful with respect to what I most want to achieve or feel or experience in my life? And clearly it wasn't. So I wasn't at that point taking the path of least resistance or the path of lazy intelligence. And I wasn't at all thinking in terms of energy management or flow state or anything like that.
Wow. First off, thank you. Thank you for sharing. That's one thing that I so appreciate with you is just your vulnerability, your transparency, your authenticity. You do it in everything you do. You show up that way, and by doing that, it allows others to show up in that same way. And so, thank you. I really appreciate you sharing that with me. I know you talk about it in the book. However, just even to hear you talking face to face about it, it really, I can feel it. I can feel that shift in you, that depth of where you were, and that moment of hold tight. There's something else here with love, peace, and joy. And I kind of want to hone in on that. What was that moment? What shifted? Something happened in that second. What was it?
That's only taken me 20 years to understand. That's what I love about you. You have the most profound questions. That you really hit the nail on the head. That was the question that I sort of struggled with for 20 years. And I come to realize, so simple, it's almost laughable, which is that finally, for one moment in my life, I stopped rushing and fussing and worrying and struggling and striving. And I stopped trying to plot and plan and script my life. And I even forgot all my desires. I forgot all my fears. And for one moment in my life, when I began to contemplate seriously the end of my life, I came to the end of thinking or thought altogether. And so for a moment or a micro moment there, my mind was finally still and silent in a real palpable way. And so I felt this like innate or inherent peace, love, and joy that's always there underneath the surface, but always there. I felt it shine through. It's like, what I call it now is the eternal sunshine of the spotless mind. It's that invincible summer within that's always there. It's that sunshine that's always behind the clouds of thinking and worrying and planning and plotting, and sometimes even your desires. It's always there. So I had that experience then. I just called it divine intervention, didn't know what else to call it. And it took me 20 years to really get back to a place where I fully both understood it and then could begin to integrate that more consistently into my daily life. Like just the stillness and the silence alone. So it was just that, which is ironic in a way, right? It's like all the things we do in order to survive or be successful often cause us to struggle and fail at the things that matter most, which includes most obviously fulfillment and happiness and peace and even love and connection.
Yeah. Wow. I just have chills up and down my body. And what I'm hearing is there was so much noise around you, and you just went right into quiet at that final moment. And when
Absolutely.
you went quiet, that's when you were able to access what was most important to you.
You nailed it. It was simply not thinking, which is just like, wow, it's wild. I mean, and it's also so obvious in some ways. It's like you look out into nature, and all of nature is perfectly blissful except for human beings. I mean, only people make a problem out of their own existence, right? The rest of human nature, or the rest of nature, experiences the same losses and misfortune, the accidents, the illness, death, all of it. And yet, and while that is clearly painful, there's not this like suffering that's associated with that for nature in the same way that it is for human beings, right? And so we've got this incredible instrument or tool that is a brain, and it does a phenomenal job of figuring out a lot of things. It's a fantastic problem solver, but it's also just as effective a troublemaker. right? The mind creates all kinds of problems for you. It'll create problems just in order to solve those problems, just to justify its role as, problem solver. So yeah, it's kind of, it's ironic and it's fascinating. And it's also quite simple. It's not always easy. But yeah, it's just being able to quiet the mind.
Yeah. Well, and again, it goes back to what your dad said, his wise words of thinking smarter. And that thinking smarter is quieting the mind. It's quieting the noise and going into where, leading from the heart. And yeah.
That's right. That's when the miracles happen, the magic happens. And that's where lightning strikes, right? I mean, you hear folks like Einstein who talk about, the limits of the rational mind, and that all his greatest inventions, discoveries came not through the rational mind, but through imagination, right? When he's sitting in the bathtub for way too many hours as his dinner's getting cold, and he's just letting his mind sort of wander, or his mind goes quiet, or that's when the greatest discoveries, inventive, creative insights, and solutions often surface. And there's another point there that you mentioned, which I just think is so profound. I mean, I love you highlighting it, which is that the place for me to start when it comes to lazy intelligence or energy management is like asking yourself a question that can sound and feel very existential, but it's extraordinarily practical, which is like, why are we all here? Like, not just in this conversation or listening to the conversation, but why are we here on this planet? Like, what's it all for? What are you trying to achieve, accomplish, or acquire, experience, or feel through having kids, getting married, succeeding at your job, getting the promotion, making a ton of money, having a healthy body, looking attractive? For me, it's really just a feeling that and that we're all ultimately after. You can call that feeling fulfillment or contentment or peace or love or happiness, but it's a feeling. If we didn't experience or expect to experience that feeling, we wouldn't want any of the achievements or accomplishments or acquisitions in the way that we do. And so if you can kind of remember that, if I can remember that, then I can stop routing every achievement, acquisition, accomplishment, like start writing my happiness and peace and love through achievements and accomplishments and acquisitions. In other words, I don't need to make other people, places, or things the middle men and middle women and middle people or processes through which I can experience the happiness and fulfillment and the peace or the abundance and prosperity that I'm ultimately after. I can go directly to the source for it. So that for me is largely what lazy intelligence is about.
Yeah. Well, and it's trusting your knowing, and I was thinking about, I had a conversation with my daughter earlier today, and we were talking about investing in yourself. And when you start to invest in yourself, you have 100% control. And that's an investment you will never regret making.
Oh, I love that so much, Ilene. You're absolutely right about that. There's a huge piece of this, of course, like you said. It's, of course, the self-commitment called self-investment. There's self-awareness there, self-love. The point for me, largely, is also like just being crystal clear about the things that allow you to feel tapped into and turned on, that allow you to feel, happy, that inspire you effortlessly and easily, and like leaning into those things, right? As opposed to leaning away from those things. Often we get this idea stuck in our head. I know I did. It's like no pain, no gain. And if I suck at something, I should work at it until I'm really good at it.
Yeah.
Yes. Right. But we know that's a really ineffective way to become successful or happy. And so instead, to your point, it's like I call them happiness islands. But it's like identify your happiness islands in life. Those people, places, things, and activities that allow you to feel inspired, energized, happy to be alive. And then simultaneously identify your success islands. Those are things that you're naturally, easily, and effortlessly gifted at doing. And so you can almost do them blindfolded. Where they overlap, so the activities that are on both lists, those overlapping islands are your core competency. It's your comparative advantage in life. It's where you experience flow state most consistently. It's where you're 500 to 1,000% more effective and efficient and efficacious at whatever you're doing. It's really your personal brand. And so if we can trust more, to your point, and invest more in ourselves in discovering our happiness islands and our success islands and where they overlap, and then do what we can to schedule more of our lives in such a way that we're spending and working and playing on our islands as opposed to our deserts, right? So happiness deserts are things that drain you. Success deserts are things that you're either really good at, but it takes you too much time, energy, and effort, or things that you're average or below average at, no matter how hard you try. If you can reverse engineer those deserts out of your life, meaning do less of them by either reducing, eliminating, outsourcing, delegating, automating, or regulating, right? So those 6 options, in other words, just get them off your plate, then you'll find you're being a lot lazier, it seems, but you're having a heck of a lot more fun and you're way more productive and way more creative without the time, energy, and effort you're accustomed to.
Yeah, way more fulfilled, way more energized. All of that comes. I love those islands too, and the desert. The desert as well, because we need to start thinking about. And I did a video a while ago on energy management and those things that deplete us and those things that replenish us. And for some reason, we think, oh, we're supposed to be depleted. No, we're not supposed to be depleted. And some things you have to do in life. You've got to do some things. However, if we are running a full day, a full week, a full month and year on pure depletion, we're going to be flat on our backs. And so how do you replenish with those things from those islands that will actually replenish you?
So good, Ilene. Yeah. You're right about that. The other piece of that, I know for lots of us, is that we have a lot of judgment around that. It's like, I should want to spend 24/7
yes.
right, with my kids or with my friends or doing this thing that I hate or that I doesn't, it's like, no. Like, if you can sort of stay open and non-judgmental and just be curious around it, you could see that you could be a better friend or a better partner or a better worker or a better lover or a better parent if you actually spend some time doing other things that energize you, inspire you, uplift you. And then when you get back to doing some of the other things that you have to do anyway, you'll find that you actually kind of enjoy those things or really very much enjoy those things. And it's just that you were burnt out or depleted, to your point.
Exactly. And I've been doing a lot of thinking and talking with clients around boundaries. That boundaries is such a taboo thing. It's like, oh, Robert has a lot of boundaries. No, that's what allows Robert to show up as his best self in all arenas, because he has great boundaries. And that's what we need to start embracing, is our boundaries, so that we can protect our energy. And
so good. You're right about the boundaries. And it's such a, I think sometimes these words, like in mainstream culture, we're so used to hearing it's like boundaries. Oh yeah, no, but it's like, you really have to look at that closely. What are we saying when we're talking about boundaries? And they're boundaries, not walls, right? They're boundaries, not walls. And so
exactly. Yeah.
I love that point. There's something else you said there, which I wanted to just touch on real quick, which is, also, I know with my, clients and friends and family and with my own life, I know sometimes it can be challenging too, because you think that it's up to other people for you to stick to your boundaries, right? But it's not. Like, you can communicate your boundaries, but at the end of the day, if it's not working for you, it's not working for you. You don't have to have agreement of what the boundaries are.
Exactly.
You continue to follow through on your own boundaries and execute against your own boundaries without needing the whole world to buy in, so you can be healthy or happy.
Yeah, absolutely. Love that. One thing I want to circle back that you were talking about too, and it's a word that I use a lot and love, and that's fulfillment. And when I very first started my coaching a zillion years ago, it was specifically with moms in transition and women in and out of the workplace. And there was so much pressure to be balanced. And how am I going to balance my life? And I would talk to clients about this, give talks on it, and say, let's throw the word balance out. Unless you're doing Pilates or something like that, we do want to have balance for our bodies. We don't need balance in our lives. And instead, what I always would say is, let's look at, or not would, I still say, let's look at fulfillment. What does a fulfilled life look and feel like for you? And what's that pie look like? Those slices might be different at different times of life. And when I think about our energy management conversation, if you're trying to live a perfectly balanced life, chances are your energy is not going to feel as good as if you're living a life that's fulfilled, where it might not be as balanced. And I want to throw it your way. Any thoughts on that?
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, I've probably been the most unhappy when I've lived the most objectively seeming balanced life. It's like people look at my life and say, Rob, you're not balanced at all. I mean, because I all day, every day during the week, I work and I talk to people. So then there's like my Sunday where I just hide from people because I'm an introvert by nature, and Saturday I'm a little more social. But they would say, yeah, you don't live a balanced life. And I've discovered that, to your point, I mean, I'm not after balance. I think I'm for sure after fulfillment and after happiness. And if balance supports your happiness and fulfillment, by all means, right? If it does not, then not so much. So I'd say that, better litmus test, for me at least, is, am I fulfilled? not if I'm balanced. Because so yeah, it's a really great point that you make there. And I kind of think of also for those people that are interested in balance, it also could be a pendulum too, right? Sometimes we think it's like finding your forever home. I'm going to find this home, and I'm going to be in it forever. Sometimes it happens. That's great. Or I'm going to find this sweet spot, my forever sweet spot, my forever balanced place. But it's more like a pendulum. It swings, and so you'll find yourself sometimes just swinging into aloneness or swinging into being by yourself or working a whole lot or whatever. And then you find that I've had enough of that for a while. I need to swing the pendulum back in the other direction. And the pendulum only remains a functioning mechanism as long as it continues to swing a little. It doesn't have to swing violently, but it's just swing a little. Right? The moment it becomes stuck to either one extreme or dead center in the middle, you have to begin asking yourself, am I fulfilled in this? Or have I just and only optimized for balance, which is not leading to the fulfillment that I'm ultimately after?
Yeah. And ultimately can suck your energy, absolutely. I keep going back to your dad's quote, and I was thinking of my dad as well. He would always say to me growing up, if it's fun or if it's not fun, don't do it. That was the message I got growing up. And that didn't mean, you don't have to do the hard work, but it goes back to what your dad was saying too. It's, work smarter, and smarter ideally is more fun.
Oh,
and investing in the fun.
So good. Yes, that's precisely it. You're right. I remember reading that. It might have been a Jack Canfield book too, and it just resonated so strongly with me. It just was like, to your point, if you can't, if it's not fun or you can't make it fun, try not to do it at all. And so you're right. So the first piece is it fun, and then secondly, it's like, well, if I have to first of all, if it has to be done, a lot of things don't have to be done. So it comes back to this theme of like essentialism.
Yes.
We think so many things are necessary in life. They're not. There's so many things that are not necessary. So many things that are totally unnecessary that aren't contributing to your success or your happiness or your feelings of, connection and love. That's the first piece. And then the second piece is, if it does have to be done, does it have to be done by me? It's like, no, it probably doesn't. Unless you love it, unless you're good at it, you probably shouldn't be the one that's doing it.
I was going to say, people might be better served if it's not done by me.
Oh, so many things. Most things, actually, you should be sure not to give them to Rob. Apparently, Ilene. I feel like Ilene can do anything. I feel like you can do anything and everything.
No.
Yeah, I'm terrible at like 99.9999% of things, and I don't want to do them. And there's this 0.00001% of things that I love and come to me most easily. And that's kind of where I want to spend my life. Sometimes that evolves. That's fine. I'm open to it evolving, and I'll always be open to new experiences and trying new things. But yeah, I think sometimes many of us try too hard to force ourselves to be something other than what we really are or what we really want to be. And, we're all born the way we were for a reason. And I think we all have unique and infinite value in being who we ultimately essentially are.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it makes me also think of life stage too, because as we go through our life stages, so much of the beginning is exploring. You don't know what you really love. I mean, you explored so many different things when it brought you down a tunnel that took you to a very dark place, but it was, it was through that experiential opportunity that you realize, oh, wow, I'm so off course, and had that moment, that really deep moment. I think I always am cautious because we might have somebody 20 or 21 or 25 or what have you, early 30s listening. They're still in an exploratory stage. And I think I shouldn't even say that. I'm still in an exploratory stage. I don't think that ever ends. But I think as you go through life and you go through life stages, you start to get clearer and clearer on who you are, what resonates, and what allows you to shine as your best self. And I'm curious if you've noticed that shift in you through stages.
Without question. I mean, life is, to your point, it's a data gathering experience that never ends. I mean, it's endless. It's a never ending story. And just when you think you've landed or arrived at the one thing you'll do for the rest of your life, or the one thing you'll love or enjoy for the rest of your life, it changes, it evolves, it deepens. So you want to stay open to that, I think. The other piece of it, and this is where I feel like there's a lot of opportunity for most of us to get clear on. I think of most of us as having two purposes. I know I have two purposes. So there's the purpose I think that we all share, and that is an inner purpose, and that's the inner purpose of fulfillment or happiness.
Yeah.
You can go by lots of other names, but there's that. The outer purpose is how that inner purpose is manifest or expressed in the world. So it might be like it was for me initially. It was like, I want to be a professional basketball player. And then I got pneumonia my senior year, and that just went out the window. And then later it was like, I'm going to be consultant. And then I realized what that was. And I was like, oh, that's not it either. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to do this modeling and acting thing. That was amazing and incredible, and reminded me that you can make a ton of money having fun, right? Just having fun, like, working less than ever. And I was making so much more money.
People are paying me for this?
Yes, exactly. I'm going to go to some secluded island with beautiful people and have great conversations and just, be a prop, and I get paid. But I realized that when I get crystal clear on my inner purpose first, and I prioritize that first, then whatever outer purpose manifested from there, I was satisfied and fulfilled nonetheless. When you get it the other way around, so in other words, if you try to clarify or get too clear on your outer purpose before you get clear on your inner purpose, you can succeed with your outer purpose, but still feel deeply like a failure because you failed to find fulfillment, right? So, it's like success without fulfillment is failure. So the one piece of encouragement, and one thing I remind myself often, is like, prioritize this inner purpose thing first, Rob. And therefore, when your outer purpose manifests from there, it'll be something that you intrinsically love doing for its own sake, and therefore will be a lot more persistent with it. You'll persist with it a lot longer. You'll do it, and it'll feel like play. So you'll probably do it a lot longer and go a lot deeper with it. And that emotion that you feel around it, because you're so passionate, is it sells itself sometimes in that particular fashion. But yeah, my life and my life purpose, the external one, has evolved over the years. But it's evolved in increasingly satisfying ways when I've been clear about my inner purpose, which is fulfillment and happiness.
Yeah, love that. Well, and we've seen different videos, read about different people in all different professions. It doesn't matter what the profession is, when you can find your sense of I'm making a difference. Regardless of what you are doing, I'm making a difference, I'm having an impact. And sometimes you need to be creative in terms of how you see that, but every single one of us is making a difference in someone's life.
Oh, no question about it. Significance. And you don't know, that's the other thing. You can't possibly see in every direction through all of eternity the value of a simple act or a comment, right? You can't see it. I had this experience once. I was doing a morning show for a couple of years, and I would go after the show, and I had to keep up with the wardrobe thing. So like, people remember if you wear the same thing more than once. So I would go, sometimes buy clothes, sometimes return, whatever. And I was buying something, and I was walking out the store, and there was this gentleman, and he came up to me and he said, "Oh, I just love what you're wearing," And I said, "Oh, thanks so much." And then we started talking. He said, "What do you do?" And I started telling him what I did. And he said, "Why do you do that?" And then I got a little bit into the story that I got into with you. I shared that story with him around the depression and suicide and suicidal experience. And I felt all of a sudden, right to my right, there was a young man standing there with him who I didn't really notice right away. And apparently it was his son, and his son was getting really upset, really worked up. And I thought I had said something to offend him or insult him or, upset him in some way. So I said, "I'm so sorry. Are you okay, my friend? Like, did I say something that upset you? I am so sorry. Please let me know." And he said, No. He was like, "Rob, you don't know. Like, you just shared this story, and today was going to be the day." And I was like, "Today was the day for what?" He was like, "Today was the day that I was going to kill myself. Today was the day." And his dad looked at him like, shocked, of course. His dad didn't know. And he's like, "Yeah, I was, and I said, "Oh, and how are you feeling about it now?" I didn't want to put any judgment on him, but of course I didn't want him to do anything to himself. I said, "Well, how are you feeling about all that now?" He said, "Well, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it because, I realized that if you can get through something like that, then maybe I can get through something like that too." Now, Ilene, that is just, for me, mind blowing. It wasn't anything I really had done. I was just having a conversation in a way that was authentic. And I was sharing my heart, not with any, and it had this ripple effect on this kid. I don't know where that kid is to this day, but that's a perfect illustration, example of like somebody whose life has changed, at least for a moment, by just being yourself. And again, not a testament to me. It's just, this happens all the time with us. And often we don't know, because people don't always say. I was so lucky and very grateful that he shared with me in the moment the effect that conversation had on him. But we don't know the ways in which our love and our reaching out to people, our connecting with people, conversation like this can have a positive impact on somebody's life.
Yeah. I can't tell you how many times I've had chills up and down my spine by hearing your stories and what, again, just how you're showing up in the world and that ripple effect it has. And what I want to highlight is the story you just told had nothing to do about your work. And I think we forget our day-to-day moments when we connect with the person in line, when we connect with the barista, when we connect with the person at the dentist office, whoever it is, we have an opportunity to make a difference. And as I say that every day when my girls would go out the door, and there were two reasons for this. When they go out the door to school, I would always give them a little pep talk, and I'd always end with, "And you make a difference. Be the one who makes a positive difference in someone's life." I say I did it for two reasons. One is I know that some of that stuff could be helpful for their mind, body, spirit. More importantly, they couldn't stand it, so it got them out of the door quickly. They were running out of the door as I was giving them my sermon, and so it was twofold. But I always did end with, "And you remember, you make a difference." And it's every single action we have, we can make a difference.
That's exquisite.
Yeah.
There's no question about that. I love that you plant these seeds, Ilene, in your kids' lives, and it's you're right, something that we could all be doing more of. Right, we can all be doing more of that. And the other thing is, and I love what you said, which is, I think the thing about energy management and flow state and lazy intelligence is that it's often counterintuitive. It feels counterintuitive, right? It's not really counterintuitive, but like by being relational instead of being transactional, which is what you do extraordinarily well. I mean, you connect with me about something related to business, but it always feels relational. That is so much more effective and efficient and enjoyable. For me, I know it is. I'd say for most people. And therefore, it's good business. It's good business to be relational, right? And that doesn't mean you can't still make the transaction. In fact, it helps to lubricate or facilitate the transaction. And so what you're saying here is just so profound. There's such intelligence in authenticity, being relational, in self-disclosure and confident vulnerability, because they're contagious, and they really help to prepave the kind of connective experiences with yourself and with others that allows other things to happen in ways that they couldn't otherwise.
Yeah. Thank you. That's so beautifully said. And you're right. When you show up and you care about the person, whoever it is, your energy is going to feel good. You'll be managing your energy. You'll be in sync with who you are and who you're meant to be. Yeah.
We know that. Emotion is the most contagious element on the planet. It's more contagious than any virus that we're aware of. You can pass it through a computer screen. You can pass it 3,000 miles away through a glance, or through a photograph, or through a text message. People pick up on the emotion that you are feeling yourself, right? So yes, no question about it. If you want to affect others in a positive way, try to find that place within yourself where you're feeling and experiencing that which you most want to feel and experience, which is peace and love and joy. And it's a sort of miraculous and magical the ways in which it opens up opportunities in your lives. And in my life, it has in ways that I could have never scripted myself.
I love that. We try to script ourselves and it doesn't end up that way, and it can end up so much better. So I love that. All right. I could talk forever, but now I'm going to ask you if you'll play 1, 2, 3 with me.
Yes, of course.
Excellent. Okay. What is one mindset shift that you hope our listener takes away around managing their energy?
Commit to happiness. It's the cheat code or the master key to everything else you want in your life. We've got decades of empirical data to support that. You also have your personal experience. I have my personal experience and all my professional experience. So commit to and prioritize happiness or fulfillment above everything else.
Yes. Number 2 ideas or facts that you hope our listener takes away.
Happiness is closer to you than your own hands and feet, closer to you than your own breathing. So it's something that's within you and not something that you'll find in the future, in the world, in anybody or anything else. So start there. That's number 1. And number 2, it doesn't have to be hard work. You don't have to make hard work of it. It doesn't mean you have to invest in it. But like for me, I found it when I just stopped spending so much time worrying, planning, plotting, scripting every moment of my life. And I think you'll find it too over time, whoever you are out there, if you can spend a little more time quieting your mind. So stillness and silence are superpowers.
Yeah, definitely. Just mindfulness. Yeah, being able to, absolutely. Last question. 3 actions that, actually, it's not my last question. I didn't tell the truth on that one, but the 3 actions that our listeners can plug and play with. I always like things to be actionable. There's so much information that can feel overwhelming. So let's just dial it in. What are 3 takeaways that they could do today?
Yeah. First and foremost, clarify what you're optimizing your whole life for. It doesn't have to be happiness or fulfillment. I don't care what it is, whatever. It could be money. It could be millions or billions of dollars. It's great. I love it. It could be being a best-selling author. It could be, being an Academy Award winning actor or filmmaker, whatever it is. Clarify that, number 1. What are you optimizing your whole life for? And recognize you can change your answer in a pretty good day. Okay? Second, reverse engineer out everything that doesn't directly essentially contribute to that primary or principal goal. Okay, as much as you can. You still got to pay your taxes, on the whole 9, but do what you can to reverse engineer out all those deserts, and then reverse engineer in all of those happiness islands and success islands. So all the things that you genuinely love and appreciate and enjoy doing that energize you and inspire you, and all the things that you're effortlessly gifted at doing without very much time, energy, and effort. Spend as much of your time on those islands as humanly possible. You still have to pay the bills and whatnot. But I'd say those are the 3 primary actions for me. It's like, just clarify what you're optimizing your life for. Second, try to get away from or out from underneath all that stuff you don't want to be doing. You have to outsource or delegate, reduce or eliminate, automate or regulate. And then finally, try to spend as much of your life as you can doing those things that you uniquely love and are extraordinarily good at.
I love that. What you just said makes me think of, people will often add on their to-do list. And I also ask clients, what's your undo list? What's on your undo list? And you just nailed it. We've got to get rid of stuff, or at least just minimize it. The stuff you've got to do. There's stuff that all of us have to do that's not our favorite thing. So do that so that you have space to inject all that you want.
That is a tweetable. You have to patent that or copyright that, whatever it is. That's so good. I love the undo list. I'm going to create undo lists for days. Awesome.
I love it. All right. My very final question, and I hate to draw this to a close, but my very final question, what's possible when somebody decides, you know what, I really am going to start to manage my energy in a much more effective way? What's possible?
The highest, deepest, fullest expression of your signature gifts, strengths, and talents, and the highest, deepest, fullest experience of peace, love, and happiness. So much beyond anything you could possibly imagine, or think, or plan, or plot, or script for yourself. I promise you can experience. There's nothing that's not possible. Everything is possible.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, I love that. And when you do that, everybody else wins around you.
That's the beautiful thing about it, right? It's this virtuous cycle. The happier you get, the easier you get along with, the easier other people are to get along with for you, right? So, your happiness is contagious. It's your gift to the world. You're a better problem solver, better creative thinker. You donate more money, time, energy, and effort to causes that matter to you and individuals. You're more charitable and kind. You're more generous. I mean, it improves not just your life, it improves everybody else's life around you, including those folks that you don't even or haven't even met.
Yeah, 100%. Robert, I'm going to give you one chore to do. I'm going to put it on your to-do list. Call your publisher, ask them to stock your books. Something tells me you're going to be selling out after today. So,
I love and appreciate you so much, Ilene. Thank you for saying that. Appreciate that.
Thank you for being here. What a treat. It's been great spending time with you.
Appreciate it.